day, class. I just wanted to reach out and take the opportunity that we have to maybe answer some questions that you guys asked up on our Flipgrid, as well acknowledge some of the hard work that you guys have been doing. The quizzes, I just graded them and sent them back out to you this morning, and excellent job. For the most part, the class average was fantastic. It was like 17 out of 20. Really nice work. It's clear that a lot of you are putting the time in to really understand these concepts. If you don't love your grade on the quiz, please contact me directly and we can schedule a time to do a video chat to go over some of the concepts, and then we'll get you a new one to go at it again. So, let's talk about some of these questions that you guys had. And you guys posted them about a week ago, but I wanted to get us at least the business cycle part under our belts before we really got to answering any of them. So let's start with, I'll just go through a couple of them. But two asked, what are the business cycles, and contraction and expansion be good for businesses? So I think right now we know the business cycles. You guys did a great job on that. We know that the whole business cycle, it's an up and down, and there's always, it's always moving. And right now we are in a contractionary period. So I'll get to the second part of that. Can contraction expansion be good for businesses? Generally, contraction or expansion, and if we're in an expansionary time, that's good for almost all businesses. That means people are working, unemployment is low, and there's money going into the economy and it's flowing and that kind of. Contractionary usually means people aren't spending money and unemployment is higher. So it's not necessarily as good for businesses. Though you can argue that businesses get to be a little bit more choosy on who they hire, so they can work a little bit harder to find the people that they want and be a little bit more choosy than in an expansionary time when everybody's employed. So usually expansionary is better for high school students who are trying to find jobs because there's more opportunities for them. And then when we're in contractionary, it's a little bit harder for high school students because people are scrambling to get jobs. Other industries that sometimes do okay in the contractionary part, or actually sometimes boom, are and we've seen it during this time, is repair shops, auto shops, and like Home Depot and do-it-yourself places are actually doing very well because a lot of people are home and getting to some of the things that they usually don't have time for at their home. So they've been working on that. Other ones, pawn, thrift stores, resume writing professionals, which is a business if you really like getting into that. Also, alcohol sales, those tend to go up during contractionary times. Your next question too was, if people are actively spending, would it shorten the recovery? And yes, the quick and short answer is yes. What helps out in our recovery, the way our economy is that the best way to get out of it is to spend money and put more money into the economy. And that's one of the hopes between with the stimulus package, that if people are given $1,200, some people are going to need it and it's necessary and it's going to help them with things that they absolutely need in the next month or so. But then the hope is, okay, now once they do that, then they can put this money out into the regular world and into the economy by buying things, because that allows businesses to get money, and if businesses make more money, then they're able to hire more employees. If they're able to hire more employees, less people are not working and more people are getting money, and those more people getting money then can spend more money, and all that kind of is cyclical and helps out into our business cycle. So that's the goal, and kind of the way our market works. Alexander had asked how coronavirus has affected employment, and a few people actually asked about the employment pieces here, and certainly a lot of us have seen, and I have friends and family that have lost their jobs or are having to take less hours or that kind of thing. So it's kind of generally hurting a lot of people. Unemployment numbers have skyrocketed, and that gets to one of the safety net questions that Jasmine asked, but she asked what safety nets are in place to help people. We usually have unemployment, so if you lose your job, you can apply for it. That is a system not made for people to flood it all at once, and it's been flooded all at once. So it's struggling right now to get your unemployment checks. Has been really hard and working. You have to go online to apply, but the system isn't able to handle all of that. So it has hurt employment in general. Some industries, of course, are growing. Like Amazon's working a ton. Grocery stores have to hire more people. Anything in healthcare is scrambling. They've asked people to come out of retirement to jump in to help with healthcare services. So that's doctors, nurses, RNs, anybody who works in a medical field. But in general, our unemployment has kind of dropped off a cliff, or our employment has dropped off a cliff. In the last few weeks, ideally, when this all gets back, all those businesses will come back, hopefully, and that's the goal. And so all those people will just go back to their work. Deanna and Gabe had asked, how does the coronavirus affect the stock market? And if you've seen it, it's kind of been, it was a huge drop initially in the first couple of weeks and still is dropping. But it's very roller coastery. So every day, if there's some new news that people think is going to be better, a bunch of people are buying, and that causes it to go up, and then it's dropped back. So it's kind of a wild time right now in the stock market. And for anyone watching the stock market, it's probably a very scary time looking at that. So Jasmine asked, what safety nets are in place to help people? And then what is the stimulus and how do you qualify for it? So let's start with the first part. The safety nets in place in general are unemployment and workers' comp and those kind of things, like if you get hurt, unemployment if you lose your job, which they are expanding. So the stimulus package is expanding all of those safety nets. So it has a few parts to it. One is the direct checks to individuals. So everyone's getting direct checks. They're getting checks written to them. If they did their income taxes online, had direct deposit for their taxes in the last couple of years, last year and this year, then they should be getting that stimulus check directly put into their accounts. And those will come quicker. If they didn't have that done through the IRS and they're getting an actual check, it's going to take a little bit longer. I'm not sure exactly how long, but people will be getting checks mailed directly to them. I know we're checking every day on our bank accounts and haven't gotten those yet. So, but I know other people have gotten them. So it's coming, ideally. So that's one. Stimulus package is helping with direct checks to people, the individuals. And the goal there is for those that need it just as survival, right? Food and basic necessities during this time. And if they don't need those basic necessities, the hope is, if not immediately in the near future, that money is going to be pumped back into the economy, which goes back to Tu's question. The stimulus package also gave a lot of help for unemployment, and unemployment really depends on the state, but a lot of money was opened up, and also the regulations for who can claim unemployment has been opened up. So a lot more people who couldn't claim unemployment normally now have the opportunity to do so. So if you're curious about that, I'll shoot some articles out that will help clarify that. They've also helped out with student loans. So they're not adding any interest on federal student loans until, I think the last thing I saw was September. So that's going to give people who have student loans, they won't be growing. The loan won't be getting bigger over the next couple of months. So that'll give them a chance to keep working. Small businesses, a few people, Alex asked about small businesses and a couple others. And there's been $300-something billion pumped out to small businesses, mostly in terms of loans. And some of those loans they don't have to pay back. So if you're a small business and you're getting some of this money and you've tried to keep your workers on, you're going to have some opportunity to get some of that money back, right? Or you can borrow some money and pay your workers to keep them on. And there's some other ways to borrow money to keep companies afloat, because the goal here with the economy is just to have those businesses not disappear. So that's part of that. Then big businesses, there's also loans, because big businesses employ hundreds of thousands of people in our country. So a lot of big corporations and big businesses are also getting loans, and from very low interest or no interest, or parts of it they're getting tax breaks for things that they have. So just to help them keep employing people, or once this gets started, to bring people back and be able to pay their rent and that kind of thing. And one of the other pieces is rentals and renters. If you're not able to pay your rent, there's some things in place where you can't be evicted, and depending on who your landlord borrows money from, there are all sorts of things in place to help out with rent. So if your family is renting, that's another thing to look into and see what parts of the government are helping with that. So that's like a real quick question. I know there's a lot of other good ones. I just cherry picked a couple that kind of had to do with what we've been learning about the business cycle. And I had a lot of good tax questions. We'll talk about that next week when we get into taxes. But yeah, that's my first video. If you have more questions, feel free to shoot them at me. Put them on Flipgrid if you want. And I have a question for you if you want to answer in the comments on this. It's my Jeopardy question, which I brought from school. So the answer is, it's a tough food category, by the way. This is the Italian name for squid whose meat is firm and chewy. It's the Italian name for squid whose meat is firm and juicy. Question of the day.